Good morning. I have 9 a.m. and I would like to welcome Mr. Gary Thompson from North Carolina Emergency Management to discuss the impending datum change that we're all so much looking forward to. All right, sir, please take it away.
Well, good morning, everyone. So when I was updating my PowerPoint, because we've talked about this a lot, we've been talking about this datum change since really 2018, because originally it was designed to be implemented in 2022, but because of a lot of factors, COVID was one of them, and also the National Genetic Survey, I think, realized the amount of work they needed to do to prepare for this. It's been delayed, so we're getting close now. So this is the Federal Register that kind of starts the process of implementing the new datums, and we'll talk about. We've done this before, but this time's going to be different because we're doing a variety of things at one time. But you can go to this Federal Register here, and you can see the information about it. And this is the part of the Federal Register, and it basically says that the National Genetic Survey will start testing tools, which they are. Conversion tools, all the tools that we use as far as GNSS technology, they're already doing some testing on that. The register also says that until that time, we will continue to use the current datum that we have here in North Carolina. It'd be NAD 83 2011 and NVAD 88. We still have some uses of NAD 27 here in North Carolina, and I think we'll continue as we get through the presentation. You'll see that when this officially occurs, it's not going to have, we're not going to quickly, everybody's going to go to the new datum. It's going to take time. Things like out of our office, we had the floodplain mapping program. It's going to take time before those digital flood insurance rate maps convert to the new vertical and horizontal datum. So it's going to be a transition, and what's going to be really important is metadata, because you're going to get data sets in a variety of datums, units, and so it's going to be very critical as after this is implemented that we monitor that metadata. The Federal Register also says that there'll be a process, and the official process will start when the National Genetic Survey goes to these FGDC committees to get approval. And then I'll show you the law. We've already passed a law here in North Carolina that once that occurs at the federal level, they will automatically be implemented here in North Carolina. So what's going to occur in 2026? Like I said, we've done this before. We went from horizontally NAD 27 to NAD 83. We went from vertical datum, the NGD 29, the National Geodetic Vertical Datum 1929 to NV 88, but we did them at different times. We did a couple years apart. This time we're going to do them all at one time and throwing in some new factors too. So we're going to have a new horizontal reference frame. We're going to have a new vertical reference frame, and we're also going to have a new state plane coordinate system. So that was one of the requirements that the National Geodetic Survey asked that all states implement a new state plane coordinate system. And so we'll go through and I'll show you the changes that will occur with a new state plane coordinate system. The other change is units. We will go from, we're one of many states that use the U.S. survey foot as the official conversion from feet to meters. And so when we go to the new datum, we will go to the international foot, which for small numbers, it has no impact. But when you're dealing with state plane coordinates that are in the millions, it has a large impact, and I'll show you an example of that. And if you're a coastal county, you work along the coast, there'll also be a new tidal datum. And the tidal datum will be released sometime later after the horizontal and vertical datums are released. So this is the bill that was passed last year. It's House Bill 814, and it sets the stage here in North Carolina so that when our agency, the North Carolina Genetic Survey, receives the official announcement that the National Genetic Survey has implemented the new horizontal and vertical datums, that we will officially convert to that here in North Carolina. That doesn't say we will not, there will be continued use of the current datum over time, but that will become the official datum. And you'll see down in the language, it has all the parameters of the new state plane coordinate system, and also the official conversion to using the international foot. One other thing that we've added in here, because the datums are in legislation, anytime there's a change, we have to go to the General Assembly. So we added language this time so that when this occurs again, our agency, the North Carolina Geodetic Survey, will have the statutory authority to make that change. We won't have to go to the General Assembly. The National Geodetic Survey, a major reason for this change is modern technology, the ability to measure with such precision and accuracy, and also to take into consideration the tectonic plate movements. Here we're on the North American plate, tectonic plate here in North Carolina, so our movement is fairly consistent. But there's other parts of the country like California where they're on two tectonic plates and they have a lot of changes. So over time, the National Geodetic Survey will make adjustments for that. That could be on a 5-year interval, 10-year interval. So when that occurs, we'll be prepared in North Carolina. We won't have to go back to the General Assembly to do that. So these are the names. The new horizontal datum is the North American Terrestrial Reference Frame of 2022. And you'll notice there's actually 4 horizontal reference frames, one for each tectonic plate. And then there'll be one vertical datum, the North American Pacific Geopotential Datum of 2022. And there'll also be a new geoid model. So if you're using GNSS technology to obtain elevation or heights, you need a geoid model. And so it will be very critical that when you're working in this new vertical datum to also use this geoid 2022 geoid model to obtain the most precise and accurate heights. So when I talk about mathematical changes, there's 2 factors we have to take in consideration. One is the actual datum change, and the other is our change in our state plane coordinates. And our state plane coordinate system is going to have a very large difference. And we had the option of, that was one of the requirements of the National Geodetic Survey, but we had the option of asking for exemption. And after much discussion with groups, we decided that it's to make that big change because it will be it will check itself. So if you have a data layer that you're working in and you're working NAT 83 and someone provides you a data and it's on the new state plane coordinate system, horizontally it's going to be so far off it's going to automatically let you know that you're in 2 datums. The vertical datum is going to be a little different story because of the small difference. So datum difference here, you can see we're a little over a meter change from NAT 83 2011 to the new 2022 datum. Vertically, we're at about 9/10 of a foot, average 9/10 of a foot. And so that one, to me, is going to be the one that we have to be very careful with because that could easily, especially when we're dealing with floodplain ordinances, that 9/10 of a foot can make a tremendous amount of difference, especially along the east or even in the mountains. So we're going to have to be very, very careful with metadata when we're dealing with elevations when we go to the new datums. So the other requirement was that we were to change our state plane coordinate system. So this is our current state plane coordinate system. It's a 2 parallel system, and where you see green that is where you have really where the state plane coordinate system and the topographical feature are almost the same. In other words, the ground to grid distortion when you project it down or up to the state plane coordinates is almost 0. So the concept with the new state plane coordinate system was to make it more topographically fitting to reduce that ground to grid distortion. And so you'll see this is our new state plane coordinate system. So you can see a lot more green area here in North Carolina. Obviously up in the mountains where you have the elevations, it makes it a little more difficult. And as you see, and this is one parallel system. So as you get farther away from that parallel, the ground to grid distortion increases. So the big change that we made, in addition to this, is the change in the numerical values. And so to accomplish this, we changed our false northern and false eastern. So currently our faults east in our state plane coordinate system is 2 million feet, and our faults northern is 0. And so we changed that to 200,000 meters. Our northern offset is 200,000 meters, and our faults eastern is 1 million meters. As you can see, that makes a dramatic change in the numerical values that we currently have. And so, again, if let's say a farmer is using precision ag, and we make the datum change, and they bring in a new data layer that's in the new state plane coordinate system, it's automatically it's going to be in some other part of the state. So it'll be kind of self-checking with the new state plane coordinate system. The other change is we'll change units. And this shows you the states in kind of the dark green there by legislation currently utilize U.S. survey feet. The blue states are the ones that use international foot. At the end of December of 2022, the National Institute of Standards and the National Geodetic Survey officially retired the U.S. survey foot. Here in North Carolina, we are a state with a U.S. survey foot. So but we're going to make that change to the new date when we go to the new datum. And I'll show you the rules that we're going to recommend. And why you need to be careful with international foot and U.S. survey foot. With the current state plane coordinate system, if you utilize the wrong units, you can introduce when you get, the farther you get east, as the state plane coordinates get larger, the difference gets larger. So you can see out on the Outer Banks, you can introduce over 6 foot of error in state plane coordinates. We get calls a lot in our office from surveyors. They're using our real-time network. They'll say, I'm missing this monument 5 feet. And we ask them where they're at, and usually it's somebody has gone in, updated their firmware, and changed the units to international foot. So that's another area we've got to be careful with as we make the change. And then the last change is a title datum. There will be a new title datum, and that will be sometime later in 2026 that will take effect also. So if you're a coastal county or you work with coastal or tidal data layers, you'll need to take that in consideration also. So what do we need to do to get prepared for this? Main thing is the National Geodetic Survey is working with the software vendors to provide the transformation parameters to them. So you need to check with your software vendors to see when that update will be available to make the transition. Make sure you have metadata so that when you do make the change to the new datum, you have sufficient metadata that can actually do the transformation for you. And then if you also have any documents, any guidelines that reference a horizontal or vertical datum or units, you need to review those and make a decision of when you want to update those. The other is the international foot. We'll make that change. And the rule of thumb that we're going to recommend, and also the next slide I'll show you, we're proposing a rule, is that only use the international foot with the new datums. Always use the U.S. survey foot with the current datums and any historical datums, because those were what was legislatively applied to those when you were using those datums. So, and to minimize confusion between when you use that. So the rule of thumb is use the international foot with the new datums, U.S. survey foot with the old datums. And this is the rule that we're proposing. We'll go through the Rules Commission to get this through the process, mainly for information, but also for agencies that are working on contracts, especially state government agencies, that they can include this rule in their contract so that, say, a DOT project that might start, has already started this year, but the building construction doesn't start till 2029, 2030. The project is on Nat A3 2011. You want to make sure that the construction companies that are using machine control use the right foot as they're doing their construction. So converting to the datums, more than likely most projects that started or in progress now will stay on the current datums on Nat A3 and 8088. We've talked to NCDOT, and that's the plan at NCDOT. You will get in 2026, once the change makes, if you deal with products from surveyors, you're going to get a variety. You're going to get some that are in NAD 83, you're going to get some on the new datum. The surveyor is required to put that metadata on their survey product. So 5 minutes, okay. And so be prepared for that. So imagery, as Darren mentioned, the statewide imagery project, the plan is to finish out this cycle. So we're on a 4-year cycle. The green area has been flown this year. And so the plan is to finish up the rest of the state and then come back when we start back on the East Coast to go to the new datums. Same thing with the LiDAR. We are currently finishing up the state as we speak. Hopefully our LiDAR contractors are finishing up data collection today, hopefully. And then we'll go back to the coast in 2026. And the plan would be then to go to the new datums with that new data set. Just for information, for Helena, LiDAR is being collected. As I said, hopefully one of our contractors will finish up today. These are the areas, there's over 40 counties being collected new LiDAR. It's a joint project with Emergency Management, NCDOT, and the Collaboratory. The pink counties are the ones that are being collected by the Collaboratory, and that data will be available sometime in May. In addition to LiDAR, they're also collecting imagery in those counties also. And then for the LiDAR, once we start back with our next phase of statewide, we're going to change our project areas to match the imagery project areas. And so not only we change to the new datums, we'll change the project areas also. And for our CORS network, for users that use our real-time network, we're going to run two systems. We're going to have a system that provides corrections on NAD 83 2011 and corrections for the new horizontal and vertical datum. And we'll operate those two systems at least for a year, maybe longer. It just depends on how long it's required for our users to convert. Just a couple tools. These are already available out there for the National Genetic Survey, and so these will be updated. One is VDatum, and VDatum will do a conversion from a geodetic datum, NV88, to a tidal datum. And that will be updated to not only handle the new vertical datum, but also the new tidal datum. And this is the National Geodetic Survey's in-house conversion tool. They will update this with the new datums. And like I said, the National Geodetic Survey has been working with all the major software vendors to provide the models so they can develop their own transformation parameters so that all your software will be able to handle that. And we've also worked with the National Genetic Survey to develop a formula that counties that want to go to the new datum but they want to keep their PIN numbers, we've developed a formula that they can use to do that. So it will minimize that transformation. So in other words, they don't have to produce new PIN numbers if they don't want to. So that's it. That's my contact information. As more things progress with the datum change, we'll keep the GIS community aware of it. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
No questions. You covered it all. I would like to thank Gary for that presentation. I think we're all anxious to get this process started and look forward to the increased accuracy it will bring to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just as a reminder, we are having our quarterly GICC meeting at 10 o'clock in the large ballroom. You are all welcome to join us.